Okay. So, Tefilah. We finished the Shemonah Esrei, but we didn't do, in detail at least, the end part of Shemonah Esrei, or the Amidah, the bit that begins Elokai Netzor. Okay? And that's what we're going to have a look at today. Who's got a siddur handy? Let me just go and get a siddur. It's not a siddur. Just go and get one.
Where's everyone? Where's everybody? There's normally, I think Paul and Barbara in the UK.
There's a concert. There's a concert on at the ACI in Britannia.
Okay.
So maybe there's people there.
Maybe. I think Paul and Barbara are in the UK.
Oh well.
Maybe. I think I'm not sure.
Now, there's a fundamental difference between everything that we've done so far in the Amidah to this bit, to Elokai Netzor. And that fundamental difference is who wrote it and what period of time it was written and what's its purpose. It's completely and utterly different to the 19 brachot that we've said up till now. Okay? And we'll go into the differences in a minute, but let's just have a look at the wording. Elokai, my God, Netzor Lashoni Meira. What's Netzor?
It's God, yeah.
Okay, where have you heard that word from? Netzor. Where have you heard that word every single day in the last year?
Hazara, is it?
Hazara?
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 No.
How'd you get that from Netzor? Nun
I don't know. It's got Sadik in it. Or Zayin in it. No. Netzor.
Where have you heard that every single day? If you've been in shul anyway. Not in Avinu Malkeinu. After Avinu Malkeinu, what do we say? Misha Berach Avotenu Avraham Yitzhak Yaakov Yosef Moshe and Aaron David Shlomo Hu Yivarech v'Yishmor v'Yintzor et Achenu Beit Yisrael Hashavuyim v'Hachatufim. We say it in the prayer that we've been saying for the last year for the hostages. V'Yintzor may Kodesh Baruch Hu Yosef Hu Yishmor, God. The Yintzor is another word for guard. Okay, so it means to look after. So that's where we had that word. Heard it very often. Elokai, my God. Netzor Lashoni Meira. Lashoni. What's Lashoni?
My tongue. My tongue.
My tongue. That's right. Meira.
From evil.
From evil. What does it mean? Say, guard my tongue from evil.
Guard my tongue. Lashon hara.
Lashon hara, that's right. It means guard my tongue from speaking evil. Doesn't mean
Lashon hara.
From evil things that we should. It's not talking about kosher food here. It's talking about guard my tongue from speaking evil. Usfatai, and my lips. What word do you know from the word sfatai?
Yeah, Hashem Sfatai Tiftach before the Amidah.
That's right. So this is a nice bookend, isn't it? Because right at the beginning of the Amidah, also not part of the Amidah itself, we have an introduction, don't we? Exactly what Philip just said. We have the introduction before we start. The Amidah begins really, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu v'Elokei Avotenu. But we say before it, Hashem Sefatai Tiftach, God, open up my lips, Ufi Yagid Ti'elecha, and my mouth will say your praises. Now that's the opening, but it's not part of the Amidah. This is the ending, which is not part of the Amidah. So it's a nice bookend, really. They've got the same wording there. Guard my tongue from speaking evil and my lips from saying mirma.
Nirma is lies, actually.
Yes, it means, it means
L'ramot means to trick somebody.
trickery. Yes, how is it translated there, Jeff?
Nirma,
Deceit.
treachery.
Deceit. Yes, that's a good expression.
Deceit. Yeah.
Okay, ve'limkalalai. Now, don't look in the translation. What word do you know that in the middle of that word?
Say the word again.
Ve'limkalalai.
To those who curse me.
What's the word? What's the root of the word?
Lekalel, to curse.
Kalel, to curse. So how do you say a curse? A klala.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Or if you're saying it in Yiddish, a kluli. A kluli. Right? So, velim kalalai, and those who curse me, nafshi, my soul, tidom. What's dom?
We'll stop. We'll. It's like amod dom, stand still.
Amod dom, yes. Amod dom is an army expression, means to stand to attention. Yeah. Tidom, vayidom aharon. What does that mean?
Wait a minute. Be silent. Be silent.
Be silent. That's right. Be silent. So let my soul be silent to those who curse me. So this is a prayer.
React.
Not to react. Exactly. Very good, Jeff. Not to react. So when somebody
say those who curse my soul be silent.
Vilim kalalai nafshi tidom, and let those who curse my soul be silent. What does it? How's your translation?
So those that curse me, let my soul.
Yeah. Vilim kalalai. It would have to be vilim kalalai et nafshi. I think Hannah.
Okay.
It would have to be et nafshi because you've got. It would make it. That would make it into the object. So it's vilim kalalai, and to those who curse me, comma. Nafshi tidom, may my soul be silent. So it's not to react.
Turning the other cheek.
That sounds a bit Christian, that to me.
Yeah.
Okay. V'nafshi, and my soul, care like afar. What's afar?
Dust.
Dust. Lakol, to everyone, tiyeh. Let my soul be like dust to everyone. What does that mean? It's humility. It's a plea for humility. Let my soul be like dust to everyone. I don't want to be a macha. I just, let everybody think I'm just a nobody. I don't want anyone cursing me. Everyone should just think of me as dust. And what's more important to me? Petach, open, yeah, as in petach, yes. Open, libi,
Heart.
my heart, b'toratecha, with your Torah. Open my heart with your Torah. Va'acharei mitzvotecha, and after your mitzvot, tirdof nafshi. May my soul tirdof. What's tirdof?
To pursue, isn't it?
To pursue, that's right. A rodef. A rodef is somebody who pursues you. So let my soul pursue your mitzvahs. So what's this saying here? It's saying, it's a prayer that says, I don't want to react to people that curse me. Keep my mouth pure from Lashon Hara. I don't want to say anything I shouldn't say. Just let me open my heart to the Torah and let my soul seek after your mitzvahs. Next, v'chol hakamim, and all of those who kam. What's kam?
So get up.
Yes, very good. All of those who arise.
Yeah, come.
And what are they arising to do, these people? V'hachoshvim alai ra'ah. Choshev, think. And all of those who think alai, on me, right, who think about me, ra'ah, evil. Those people who rise up against me, hakamim, to rise up against me, those who rise up and think badly against me, meheira.
Hurry up. Speedily.
Speedily, hafer atzatam. Hafer means to spoil or to
That just, I don't have it right up.
what have you got? V'chol hachoshvim alai?
Article says nullify.
Nullify,
I
yeah.
don't have the Yakum or
You don't have v'chol hakamim. That's so. I'm in Sfard here. Johnny, you'll have it, won't you?
Affair yeah, nullify.
No, just before that, v'chol hakamim v'hachoshvim alai. No. What word have you got before choshvim?
Hakamim.
Hakamim. Okay. So there's a difference there between Ashkenaz and Sfard. Nusach Ashkenaz doesn't have the word hakamim.
Ah.
It just says v'chol hachoshvim alai ra'ah.
we take things sitting down.
So it's those who think badly upon me. Mehera, quickly. Hafer, this is a prayer to God. Hafer at satam. What's an eitzah? Eitzah.
That's advice.
Advice, that's right. So hafer at satam. Ruin or spoil or frustrate or what did you say, Johnny?
Nullify.
Nullify at satam their advices.
Art Scroll said it, not me.
Okay, their advices at satam. Their things that they want to do. Those bad things they want to do against us. We're praying that they should be speedily nullified. The kalkel. If something is
The kalkel. Something is in disrepair. It's broken.
Spoiled. The kalkel machashavtam and spoil machashavtam. What's a machshava?
A thought.
A thought. Machshavtam, their thoughts. So
plans here actually.
what have you got?
Plans.
Okay, well, their thoughts about what they're going to do. That's right. So those who think badly upon me, towards me, spoil their plans and nullify what they're going to do. Asay lema'an shemecha, act or do this for the sake of your name. Asay lema'an yeminecha, do it for the sake of yeminecha, your
right hand.
Right hand. Who's your right hand? We are. Asay lema'an toratecha. Do it for the sake of your Torah. Asay lema'an kedushatecha. Do it for the sake of your holiness. Not yet. Lema'an yechaltzun yedidecha. Lema'an, in order. Yedidecha. What's a yedid?
A friend.
A friend. Where have you heard that word yedid from, Johnny?
Yedid nefesh.
Yes, very good. Yedid nefesh. Yedid nefesh.
It was a name.
Friday night, Yedid nefesh.
That's right. What does it mean? Yedid nefesh. It means the
Yedidia is a name.
beautiful. Yedidia is a name. Yes, Yedidia.
But it was the name of someone in the
Yeah. Yedidia was one of the names. Well, I think Yedidia, I'm not mistaken, was one of the names of Moshe Rabbeinu. I think. Could be wrong on that. So Leman Yechatzon Yedidecha, in order that your Yedid, your beloved, Yechaltzun, what's that word from?
Lechaletz, to be saved from, to be
No, that would be Hatzalah.
delivered from. Delivered. Lechaletz is to deliver somebody
you
who's
got
in
now?
prison. What?
In order that your beloved, who's your beloved? Us.
Yeah.
Yechaltzun will be delivered.
Yeah.
What?
Yechaltzun.
Yechaltzun. In Kol Nidre? I don't think so. Maybe. You can look it up afterwards. Hoshia Yemincha Va'aneni. Your right hand should save and I will be answered. So this is a prayer against those who are thinking bad against us, or those people that want to do us harm. Okay? And then we've got
the father, say he Rotzan in the middle of that. Elokai Netzor. Special Yehi Rotzan.
Where have you got Yehi Ratzon?
Yeah, in the middle of the Elokai Netzor.
Whereabouts?
It's after the Kalkel Machshavtam.
Okay, let's have a look.
Look.
Yeah, no, we've got Yiyu l'Ratzon Imri Fi V'Hegel Nabila V'Necha Adonai Tzarich V'Goli. We've got that. We're going to come do that in a second. So where have you got a Yehi Ratzon? Read the whole thing for me, Johnny.
It's in the middle of the Kalkel Machshavtam. Then we say Yehi Ratzon U'Fanecha. The people shouldn't be jealous of me. I shouldn't be jealous of them. Right,
well, I haven't got any of that at all. Where are you reading? Art Scroll?
Art Scroll Safard, yeah.
Okay, Hannah is just passing me her Art Scroll Safard. Yehiratzem u'fanecha no Eloheinu Eloheinu v'zhai shelo ta'aleh kinat adam alai v'lo kinati al acherim.
Yes, nice.
Shelo eches hayom v'shelo achisecha v'tatzileni miyetzer hara. Oh, it's a whole performance, this. V'tein b'libi hachna'a v'anava malkeinu v'Eloheinu yached shimcha b'olamecha. Whoa, look at all this. This is all extras.
One of these things are optional.
Okay, good. Very good that you pointed that out, because where we're going now is into the question as to where does this prayer come from? Where does this prayer come from?
Where's it come from?
Can I just say, because it was bothering.
1 second, Jeff's got something bothering him.
Yeah,
Go on.
because the beginning sounds like we're taking it on the other cheek, or we're just not reacting, and we're not. But it sounds to me that could be somewhat not defeatist, but it's just saying we're not sticking up for ourselves. And if you think of the current context, because just reading the English, what the commentary says, it says we ask for help not to respond to those who seek our harm. Well, the way of righteousness is to suffer humiliation and not to inflict it, to hear themselves insulted but not to reply. But if you put that in our current context, if we were to do that, we would be overrun.
Okay, so I'm not sure whether I'll say it out loud for the recording. Jeff says that this whole thing is like turning the other cheek, and we're not meant to respond to those that think bad, want to harm us. And in our current context, that wouldn't be a very good thing to do. I've got a couple of comments on that. First of all, it's we are asking Hashem to do it for us.
Yeah, but that's the second one. Definitely.
Yeah, he's saying, let me not respond to these people, but all of those people that are thinking want to do bad to me, you, God, speedily mess up their plans and do it. I say, do it for your sake, not for my sake, for your sake, because we represent you. So, yes, I think what Jeff's saying. Jeff's saying is that this is, we are praying here not to react. Okay, let's just put it on one side for a minute, because, one sec, because I want to show you where this comes from, and it might enlighten us to it. Yes, go on, Hannah.
It possibly refers to other Jews and not outside people, not from where we are at today, but in terms of our relationship to other.
Yeah. So Hannah says that it's referring to our relationship to other Jews, and I think you're right. That's how I've always understood it, rather than our external enemies. I think that's right. However, let's go and have a look and see where it's from. Does anybody know where it's from? Where we get this bracha? Remember, we have said that the whole of the Shemonah Esrei, we've found psukim, haven't we? All the way through, we found a pasuk for every single bracha that the Anshe Knesset Agdolah chose to base each bracha on. Where is this from?
Art Scroll tells me it's from Mara, son of Rabina. It's from Barachot.
Your Art Scroll is quite right.
Ah.
So does Jonathan Sachs.
And Jonathan Sachs is also right.
Okay.
It comes from the Gemara in Brachot, 16b into 17. Now that tells you something for a kickoff. When did the Anshe Knesset Agdolah write the Amidah?
About the end of the
After the second destruction.
Around about that time, yes. So towards, right at the beginning of the current era. That's when all these things were formulated. 1st century. When was the Gemara written?
2nd, 3rd.
Around that time too, a bit before. It was written in I think it was written about 1 century BC.
Nonsense.
No?
3rd century.
Nonsense.
Later still. The Mishnah was written in the 3rd century, in around about 200. The Gemara was written between 400 and 500 CE.
As late as that. As late
As
as that.
late as
And
that,
CE.
yeah.
Really? I didn't
CE.
know. Oh.
Yes. Now, think about the history, Philip. Think about the history. We had all the stuff that was going on in the Bet HaMikdash.
Yeah.
We had the oral law. The temple was destroyed. And where did they all go to?
The
Yavne.
second temple. Yeah, Yavne.
To Yavne. Right?
Yeah.
What did Rabbi Yochanan say? Ten li Yavne v'chachameha. Give me Yavne and its wise people. So they went to Yavne. And that's where they were debating. Everything was going on. And around about 200, so it's about 130 years after the temple was destroyed. Temple was destroyed in 70 CE. Around about 200, Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, also known as Rebbe, has got a dilemma because he's worried that all this stuff, which is no longer being put into practice because we don't have a Beit HaMikdash, what's going to happen to it? It's going to get lost. It's going to get forgotten. And the oral law, which was always meant to be oral, would disappear. So what did he do? I think with a heavy heart, he wrote it down. And that became the Mishnah. Okay? And that was around about 200. Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi wrote down the Mishnah in order that we would not forget the stuff in the oral law. Because until then, the oral law had been transmitted orally from generation to generation. But once there's exile and there's people spread all over the place, then it's not going to be so easy to pass it on. And we've seen that, haven't we? If you look at the minhagim of the Ethiopian Jews that came back in the 1980s, and they had been almost like untouched since the end of the first destruction of this first temple, because they'd been out there with no sort of, contact. Yeah, they're minhagim, very, very different. So there was a big danger that everything was going to get all lost. So Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi wrote it down as the Mishnah. Now, it caused us a lot of problems, in a way. I mean, it solved the major problem that it wouldn't get lost, but it's created another problem, and that is it wasn't meant to be written down. Once it's written down, it becomes, as it were, written in stone. Like it becomes like the Ten Commandments, and the oral law has become like the written law, and it has gained a strength, which means that it's been very difficult, or much more difficult, since it was written down, to change it. The reason that it was oral in the first place was because it was dynamic. It was moving and changing with the times for each generation. Once it's written down, becomes very difficult. We had the same problem again, another version of this idea that something, once it's written down, becomes in stone. We had the same problem when the Shulchan Aruch was written, because now everybody refers back to the Shulchan Aruch. When was that written? 16th century.
Yeah.
We've had 500 years since then, right? We've had 500 years where everything that we've done Jewishly has referred back to the Shulchan Aruch, and that's meant it's very difficult to dynamize. So we digressed a bit there, but I want you to tell the history because it's important. So the Anshe Knesset Agdolah were round about the time of the last bit of the temple and the first bit after the temple, 1st century. Then along comes the Mishnah around about 200. And by the time we get 300 years later to 500, or maybe a little earlier, between 400 and 500, we no longer even know what the Mishnah means. Because what is the Gemara? The Gemara is a dissection of the Mishnah. It takes the Mishnah and says, well, what did it mean? What did Rabbi Yehuda Anasi mean when he said this? What did Rabbi Akiva mean when he's reported to have said this, that, or the other? And then we've got all that shas over there, right, which is discussing the Mishnah, because we don't really know what it meant. And that was, by that time, the year 500. So if the Anshe Knesset Agdola wrote the Amidah was written around about the 1st century CE, right? By the Anshe Knesset Agdola. Agreed? Elokai Netzor was written the time of the Gemara. It comes from the Gemara. Brachot 16b, it says so there, right? Now, that means that this is a completely different prayer. It's not connected with the Shemonah Esrei. Your Shemonah Esrei is finished. Your Amidah is finished with Hamvarech et Amo Yisrael Bashalom. This is...
I've got a question.
One sec, Philip. This is an afterword. This is the epilogue of the Amidah, and it was written 400 years later. Now, I want to take you... Okay, go on, Philip, you speak, and then I'm going to take you to the Gemara.
If Elokai Netzor is a completely different prayer, shouldn't, after Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Kol Yisrael V'Imru Amen, there have been a Chatzi Kaddish between the two?
There is a Chatzi Kaddish at the end of
No, there's no, not after Habocher B'Amo Yisrael B'Ahavo.
You talk about it's before Shema.
That's right. I mean, Hamvarech
et Amo Yisrael Bashalom.
Shalom, yeah.
Okay, you're right.
There's no Chatzi Kaddish.
You're right. And the answer to your question is that although it is a separate prayer, it was tagged on to the end of the Amidah, and you'll see why in a minute.
So it's a personal prayer.
Okay. Jeff's got exactly the point. What have we said about the Amidah all the way through? It's in the
plural. In the plural.
It's in the plural. We are praying for ourselves as part of Klal Yisrael. Okay? Shema Kolei.
Communal prayer.
It's a communal prayer.
It also has a corollary in Birkot HaShachar, where we first say for everybody and then say for us.
While you're looking it up. So the Shemonah Esrei is, the Amidah is a prayer in the plural. This is our individual prayer. This is a completely different prayer, but it's tagged on to the end.
You don't say repetition, you don't.
This, and we don't say it in the repetition, that's right. Because this, as Jeff said, has got it, the nub of it, absolutely right. Yeah. This is, one second, Hannah. This is the personal prayer. This is the place where we do our personal prayers. Now, before you come to it, Hannah, I just want to go down here and show you the Gemara. Yes, please. It's in 16b of Brachot. Let me just get it on the screen for you, for those who are watching, and then I'll read it out for those who are here. Brachot 16b, and we'll look at it on Safari. Thank you. And then I'll just share the screen with you in a minute. 1 minute. Here we go. Right. So the Gemara says...
Share the screen, just.
Yeah, hang on. I'm just going to find the right bit. Here we go. Here we go. Right, let me share the screen with you now. Where's my share screen bit? share. There we go. That's what I want to share, I think. Okay, tell me if you can see that, guys, on the thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Those of you who are here in the room, I'm just going to read it to you, okay? So I'll just read you the English because it'll be easier. The Gemara describes how, after Rabbi Elazar concluded his prayer, he said the following additional prayer, okay? He said, may it be your will, Lord our God, to cause to dwell in our lot love and brotherhood, peace and friendship. And may you make our borders rich in disciples and cause us to ultimately succeed, that we will have a good end and hope. And may you set our portion in the Garden of Eden. And may you establish for us good companion and a good inclination in your world. And may we rise early and find the aspiration of our hearts to fear your name. And may the satisfaction of our souls come before you. I.e., may you hear our prayers that we may have spiritual contentment in this world for the best. Do you recognize that? Do you recognize that?
English, no.
No? Neither do I.
Johnny, I've got another question.
Well, no. You could hold on to it for a minute, Philip.
Okay.
Hold on.
All right.
No, you won't recognize that, because unless you've learned that Gemara, you've never seen that before. The Gemara then goes on to tell us what Rabbi Yochanan concluded his prayer with. And he said, may it be your will, Allah, a whole load of stuff. And then the Gemara goes on to tell us 11 different versions of what each individual rabbi said at the end of his prayer, demonstrating to us that what? It's all an individual prayer. This Elokai Netzor. Now, so which one? It just so happens that I'll take you right to I'll take you to the end one, and the 11th one that the Gemara gives is as Johnny told us, Mar Berei de Ravina, Mar, the son of Ravina, Ki hava Masayim Tzelutei, when he finished his prayers, Amar Hachi, this is what he said, Elokai Netzor Lashoni Meira V'siftotai Medaber Mirma V'lim Kalali Lai Nafshi Kidom.
He was the one who composed it.
V'nafshi Ke'efot. Recognize that? Yes.
Yeah, sure.
That's exactly what we've got. So the putter together of the Siddur had 11 of these personal prayers to choose from.
Did they say it together, Johnny? What's the timeline of those 11 rabbis?
That's a good question. Were they all contemporaneous? Well, they must have all been in the period between 200 and 500. That's for sure.
Okay.
They're all in the period in the Mishnaic and Talmudic period. I'd have to go and have a look at the names of each one of them and look and see whether they were.
It's okay.
That's a good question. They're all in that period anyway. So whoever put the Siddur together could have chosen any of those 1 out of the 11. They chose that one. Why? Don't know.
Well,
but
maybe it suggests here it's just because it's a perfect mirror for the opening. So maybe it was just as a bookend. Okay, so that's interesting. I hadn't read that. So Jeff said that there's a commentary. Who's that? Rabbi Sachs commentary. Yeah, it beautifully mirrors the opening mark meditation.
Okay, so Rabbi Sachs.
Maybe that's his interpretation.
Rabbi Sachs says, I'm very, very honored that I thought of this without even looking at it, and the same as Rabbi Sachs thought, which is that it's a bookend. We started with Adonai Sefatai Tiftach, and now we're saying Sefatai Elokai Netzor Shoni Meira Sefatai Medaber Mima. Okay, so the point that I'm making is it could have been any of the 11. And so what we find is that this prayer is actually an individual prayer that Ma Berei de Ravina chose. So what does that mean? That, by the way, is why there's so many different versions of it, right? You've got your version in there with all that extra stuff in, right? You've got a version without the word v'kamim, and the Eidot HaMizrach will have a different version altogether. Chabad may also have a different version, I don't know. The point is that this is not something which has been formalized like the Amidah. The Amidah is formal prayer. The Amidah is the formal, what do we call the Amidah? Avodah. Avodah. It's service. It's
Right,
formal
yes.
service. This has been described, these are not my words. It's brilliant. It's not my words. So I don't want to take credit for it. It's Rav Ezra Bick. He describes it like this. Imagine that you are in front of the king, which we are. We go and see the king, and there's a formal service that has to go on in front of the king. Okay, there's a formal service, avodah. You go through a formal thing. You go through this formal procedure, and you bow when you're meant to bow. And like we've said before, when you go to Buckingham Palace, you get a little tutorial before you go in to get your OBE or whatever you're going to get, of when to bow and when to not bow and all that stuff. You get a whole tutorial. There's a whole protocol. The Elokai Netzor is the personal bit at the end where you are saying a personal prayer. It's almost like you're grabbing hold of the robe of the king on your way out and saying, "Please, King, there's something I really need." Okay, it's much less formal. If you look at the language, it's less formal, it's less flowery, it's less it's certainly personal because it's in the first person, it's in the singular. Elokai Netzor Lashoni. Okay, what else? V'cholach kamim v'choshvim alai, on me. Patach libi, my heart. So it's all in the first person. It's all singular. This is the time when we do our tefillot. We're still there. We haven't taken our steps back yet. We're still in the presence of the king. We've finished the formal procedure. This is the time now when we, as it were, pour out our heart. Now, Rav Bick says something very interesting. He says that it's not every day that you are in a situation where you pour your heart out. That's it's not a normal scenario. There'll be a certain time where you're in a bit of trouble or whatever it is, particular sorrows, health, parnosa, kids, whatever it is, that you've got something that you desperately need help with. That's this type of prayer. The other type of prayer, the Amidah, is much more formal. We're stood up with our feet together in the correct.
It's very prescriptive.
Prescriptive, exactly. When you go to the king, it's prescribed what you do, when you bow, when you don't bow, how you speak. You don't speak to the I keep thinking the queen, but I have to keep saying the king now. You don't initiate a conversation with the king. You wait for the king to initiate a conversation with you, and then you're entitled to reply, right? But you don't initiate. It's very formal. The Amidah is the formal avodah, service. The Elokai Netzor is your own personal prayer. That is where you should be pouring out your heart for your own personal prayers and requests.
So, in that respect, should you be praying for others? If you've got requests that you want to make for others at that point?
Yes, I think you should. I think that's a good place to do it. I mean, it depends what you're doing. For Rafa'enu, obviously, for health, that's a reasonable place to do it. You're allowed to do it. In Shema Kolenu, there's a place as well, Ki Ata Shomer, because you listen to the prayers. But really, it's immediately before Yehi L'Ratzon. We never translated that. The last bit before we take our leave of God, when we do our steps back during Oseh Shalom, the last thing we say is Yihyu L'Ratzon Imrei Fi. Yiyu, let it be L'Ratzon. What's Ratzon? You're muted, Philip.
Wanted.
Yeah, let it be wanted or pleasant. Yeah. Let it be pleasant. Well, let what be pleasant? Imrei Fi, the words of my mouth. And look at the next bit. The Hegyon Libi. What's Hegyon?
Hegyon is the logic of my heart. Yeah. The logic.
Higayon is logic in modern Hebrew, yeah, but Hegyon Libi means the desires of my heart, right? Let the words of my mouth and the desires of my heart be l'ratzon, be favorable, lefanecha, before you. Yeah. Who? Before who? Before Hashem, Tzuri, my rock, the Goali, and my Redeemer. That is the last thing that we say. So immediately before you say Yihyu L'Ratzon, that is the place to pour out your personal prayers, your personal hopes, the personal things that you're requesting from Hashem on a personal basis. The Amidah is formal. It's formal service. Yiyul Ratzon is informal, desperate, that primordial prayer to your rock and your Redeemer on an individual basis. And the beauty of this Gemara, which, by the way, I'd never learned this Gemara until early on today. I looked it up for the first time. That's not true. I have learned brachot. I've learned brachot many years ago. Don't remember a word of it until today. But the fact that the Gemara goes out of its way to tell us 11 different versions of this prayer shows that each, and it would be really fascinating. Maybe one day we should do that, is to look at what each one of them said, and to see if we can work out the personalities of the person. That would be a really interesting thing to do. Another project for us in the future. But it's a personal thing. This Elokai Netzor is that grabbing hold of the coat just before you go and saying, please God, I need this particular thing. That's that's how it's so different. It's different in the way it's put together. It's different in the time it was written. It was written hundreds of years later, and it differs entirely in its purpose.
Does the Gemara tell us why we decided on this one?
No, the Gemara doesn't say. Remember, the Siddur was put together hundreds of years after the Gemara, right? The Siddur that we have has evolved over the years. If you look at the very early Siddurim, half of the stuff that we have is not there. For example, and just to give you an obvious example, prior to 1948, there was no prayer for the state of Israel because there wasn't the state of Israel, right? Prior to the hostages, we didn't have a prayer for the hostages in davening, right? So prior to Tzahal, we didn't have a prayer for Tzahal. So the Siddur has.
I wonder our service is now 2.5.
Yeah.
So do we take anything out?
Do we ever take anything? Well, that's an interesting question. Okay, now that's really interesting. Jeff has said, do we ever take anything out? We keep adding stuff in, and that's why davening takes so long. But do we ever take anything out? Well, it's hard to take stuff out, isn't it? Because this is what we were saying before. Once something is written down, it's almost like it's in stone. However, let me tell you that there are some people, myself included, and I got this from Ravi Doe. I didn't take it on my own bat. And here we don't. Well, it's said silently, but the Chazan never says it because he couldn't possibly say it in as quick as time. There is something we've taken out. If you turn your Siddurim to Shabbat morning, after the Haftorah, what do we begin with after the Haftorah? How do we finish off Shacharit? Yakum Purkan Min Shemaya. Let's just have a look at that. We'll get to that when we eventually do Shabbos davening. But let's just have a look at it now, because since you've asked, do we ever take anything out? There is something that we've taken out here, at least, or at least I have. Not everybody has, I suppose. Turn to the end of the brachot for the Haftorah on Shabbat morning. And what have we got? We begin with Yakum Purkan Min Shemaya. Okay? And there are two Yakum Purkan Min Shemayas, right? Two paragraphs that begin Yakum Purkan Min Shemaya. Okay? And they're in Aramaic. They're in Aramaic. Why are they in Aramaic?
It relates to dispersion and people living in different countries.
Okay, very good. Jeff says it relates to the dispersion and people living in different countries. Let me ask you this question. We don't do it here, of course, because we're in Israel. In England and in Australia, did you do a prayer for the Queen?
Yeah.
Yes. And what language did you do it in?
English.
In English, right? And you said, he who giveth salvation unto kings and dominion unto princes, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, may he bless our sovereign lady, Queen Elizabeth, and all that stuff, right?
And none be afraid or something.
Yes, Vashakat Vasha'anan, and yes.
I always thought it was a none be afraid.
Jeff thought there was a nun that was going to be afraid. No, none will be afraid. Yes. Yeah, so we did it in English. Why did you do it in English? So everybody could understand it. And that's why this is in Aramaic. Aramaic was the lingua franca. Aramaic was the language that people spoke. This is a prayer. The first Yukum Purkan is a prayer for the leaders of the people. The second Yukum Purkan is the prayer for the community. Now, if you look at the words of the first Yukum Purkan, can I borrow your scissor? Because my Aramaic translation is not 100% what it should be. Okay, so the first one says, Yukum Purkan min Shemaya, let there be a deliverance from heaven. Now, we're asking for China v'chista. Well, they're very similar words to Hebrew. China is the same as Chain. Grace, chista, same as word as chesed. Kindness, rachamei, same word as rachamim. May it bring grace, love, compassion, long life, ample sustenance and heavenly help, physical health, enlightenment of mind, living and thriving children who will neither interrupt nor cease from the words of the Torah, right? To our masters and teachers of the holy communities in the land of Israel, Babylon, and all the lands of our dispersion. Okay, so we're praying for the Jews here. And that's no problem up to there. Okay. Di b'chol arak galovtana. L'reishei chalei. The reishei chalei. To the leaders of the Calais. What's the Calais? Everyone heard of the Yarchei Kala?
Is it Tefilah?
Yeah, it's students basically. Le Reishe Calais means the head. It means they were the Reishe Calais were the heads of the koilalim, if you like, of the Torah institutions in Bavel. Ule Reishe Galuta, and the head of the Galut, the exilarch. We don't have an exilarch anymore, right? What is an exilarch? An exilarch, or what's a monarch?
It's a single king.
A monarch is the ark of the mon, right? It's the ark of, it's the person who leads the country, right? So the exilarch is the leader of the exile, okay? Now in Babylon, there was a Reish Galuta, right? Ula Reishe Metifta, and the head of the academies. It's talking about Bavel. This whole paragraph is about Bavel. Ula Dayane di Baba. And the judges at the gates. They used to have judges there in the gates of in Babylon. This is all talking about Babylon. Yeah. All the pupils and the pupils there, right? So we're saying a blessing here for people that don't exist. And so we don't say it. I don't say it. I don't. What's the point of me praying for a Reish Galuta when there isn't one? Right. You can argue that it means the leaders of the community, the chief rabbi and all that. You could argue that, but it's not what it says. It's specifically talking about Bavel. And so you asked me if we take something out. Personally, I've taken that out because it doesn't make any sense to me to be praying for something that doesn't exist.
Well, we still take £2.5.
Right. The next Yukum Purkan is about the congregation. So all those things, may deliverance arise, grace, love, passion, blah, blah, blah. So all this holy congregation, great and small, women and children, that's a good one to say. Really, we should be saying it in English, because what's the point of saying it in Aramaic? Right? The point of saying it in Aramaic, so we understood it. We understand Aramaic even less than we understand Hebrew. So really, in truth, if you were in England, you ought to be saying that in English. We do say it in the lingua franca, because what do we say next? Misha beirach avotenu Abraham, Yitzhak v'Yaakov, hu yivarech et kol hakahal hakodesh hazeh. That is the lingua franca. We're saying that in Hebrew, which here is the lingua franca. But in England, if you wanted to be true to the Siddur, you ought to be saying, first of all, not say the first Yukam Purkan at all. Second, Yukam Purkan you should say in English. And the third, with Misha Berach, is just really a repeat of the second. Not really any point saying both of them. If you don't understand either of them, right, you should say the Misha Berach in Hebrew because it's Hebrew, right? That's a holy language. But the Yukam Purkan for the community, what are you saying that in Aramaic for? We should say it in English if you're in England. Here, you say it in Hebrew, because we do say it in Hebrew. So
America, they say for the presidents of America, I think.
that's a separate thing. That's a separate thing. Where they don't pray for the Queen, they pray for the president.
Yeah.
I don't recall that Muslim
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
We did.
Yeah. It's interesting because my son, my son's a Rav in Perth. So he when I go there, it's slightly different because it's added some Australian bits in it as well. It says it prays for the king and the premiers and the government and all of those who uphold our Australian way of life. And recently they've added in stuff about the Aboriginal people because it's all very First Nation. That's right. It's all they've added in stuff about the First Nation because it's all it's all sort of wokey stuff there. But they've added that in very recently. Anyway, that's the we digress a bit there because of Jeff's question. Yes. Hannah's got a corollary for us. Come on.
It says
Pour me a drink, Jeff.
Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu, and then we go Hamavir Sheinam Yeinayim Lumam Yapapai, and then we go on to the plurals. Yeah, the plurals are Shetalgileinu b'Toratecha v'Tidavkeinu b'Mitzvotecha,
Right.
and they're all plural. The next paragraph is a Yeratzon Hashem Elokeinu, and they're all singular. Shetatzileni hayom uv'chol yom. Yeah, me azai panim me azut panim me adam ra, but it's me individual.
Okay, let me repeat that for those that didn't hear. Hannah has taken us right back to Birchat HaShachar, immediately after the first bunch of brachot, which ends with Hanotein LaYoach Koach. We have the bracha Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam hama'avir sheina me'einai u'tnuma me'afapoi. May we bless Hashem for taking away the sleep from our eyes. And then it says, V'yihi ratzon milfanecha Hashem Elokeinu v'Elokei Avotenu. May it be your will, Hashem. And then there's a whole bunch of plurals. Shetargileinu b'Toratecha. We should be used to get used to your Torah. V'dabkeinu b'mitzvotecha. And we should cleave to your mitzvot, etc., etc. And then that's all in the plural. And then there's another one, a full stop, and a different one. Now, very interesting that you mentioned this, because where did we say that Elokai Netzor came from?
I don't remember. It's also Yeratzon.
Where did we say Elokai Netzor came from? Brachot 16a. Have a look at the next bit that you quoted, Hannah. Where's it from? It's one of those 11.
Ooh.
It's from Brachot 16.
Oh, well, you looked at those today.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah. That's exact. So when you said it was a corollary, you didn't realize what you were saying. It's
Yeah.
actually from the same place. Let's see if we'll get the bracha up on here. We've still got it on the screen here. Let's see if we can find it. This is the bracha of Rebbe.
Where is that Yehirot sound you're talking about, Johnny?
Immediately after,
I don't even know it.
immediately after the bracha in the morning,
Yeah.
which ends with Baruch atah Hashem hagomer lechasadim tovim le'amo Yisrael.
Oh, yeah. I've got it.
Let's have a look. Wow, that's fascinating.
It is actually, that it's from the same place. So it was also put in later.
Yeah, Baruch 16b, it says, Johnny.
Yeah, it's the same. It's one of those 11.
Yes, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi.
Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, Rebbe.
Which one?
Rabbi Yehuda
Which
Nasi.
one?
Was since the Gemara, which one did you call out just now? The Baruch Hashem.
Yeah.
The same Daf Gemara.
Baruch Hashem.
Yeah,
it's on.
can't just find it on the Gemara now. I'll have a look and later on. But that's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Because again, we've had the plural Dabkeinu, Targilenu, and then we've got Rebbe's personal prayer, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi's personal prayer there, and Mar Bar Ravina's personal prayer at the end of the Amidah. How fascinating. Well, we're out of time, but that was...
I don't think you can say anything else to that. Really.
No, I think that's brilliant, Hannah. Absolutely brilliant. Well done. You didn't even know how brilliant you were. Okay. Any questions? Any questions, anyone? Philip, you've got a question? No? No. I can't hear you. You're muted, Philip.
I don't have a question. It's already been answered. It was.
Okay, super.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's kind of.
And I need to ask you another question.
The bottom, 1 second. The bottom line is that Elokai Netzor is a place for your personal prayers, and you know what? You can take as long as you want about it. Doesn't matter. If you've got lots to say and lots to pray for, that's the time to do it. Immediately before Yiyu L'Ratzon Imrei Fi, pour out your prayers, and Bezrat Hashem, they'll be answered. Yes, Philip.
I sent you a short message on your phone. Please answer it.
I'll look at it shortly. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
It's important.
Bye,
Something. I'll tell you about it. You know, I took something to Jerusalem when I went to Jerusalem.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop the recording, Philip. Nobody needs to hear this.
All right. Good. Yep.